Hey, everyone. I'm Kia, and this is Kia's Corner. And Kia's Corner presents Author Spotlight. And tonight we have something amazing for you, something for book lovers, urban fiction lovers, contemporary fiction lovers. We have the amazing Mel Dau. She has written some incredible books. She's an Amazon best-selling author. I am so honored to have her tonight. So why don't we welcome her right on in? Let's get her on in here. Let's see.
Hey, hey,
Hey, how are you tonight?
doing pretty
That's
good. Doing pretty good. Just got
really,
out of a sorority meeting, but I'm good.
I know how those go. I'm a Sigma Gamma Rho, and those
Look,
meetings can go on, honey, on.
and I'm not parliamentarian, so I'm like, look,
Oh,
now I got something to do.
oh, you got that job? Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
You got the hard work.
yeah, I'm heavy on it too. I was a state parliamentarian. I'm on the
Oh, you don't
international
play.
elections committee. Oh yeah, I'm one of them
You don't
zaters.
play. You don't play. I already know your type. Okay.
I'm one
You
of them
you stand on business for real.
all the time, all
All
the
the
time.
time.
I'm not Madam Chair. I
I'm
have
not
a
sure.
motion.
Excuse me.
I have a parliamentary inquiry. Yeah, I'm that one.
Yes. Yes. And we need
Look,
it. Trust me.
you gotta have us. You gotta have us.
Gotta have it. Gotta stay on task. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate this so
Thank
much. I am a huge fan of yours.
you.
I've read so many of your books. Oh my gosh. The Christensen family.
Hmm.
I read the Washingtons, the
Yeah.
Leotas. I love those stories. I
Thank
mean, they're
you.
just I'm talking about stay up all night, don't go to sleep, just
Look,
up till 3 o'clock in the
I
morning.
I have some authors that I'm like, I look that Capri had me on edge.
Oh
But
yeah.
the Delgados, I was on edge. I was trying to finish
Yes.
writing my book. Like I gotta finish it before it released.
Right. Yes. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Technical difficulties. Forgive me for that. I'm back. But yeah, I'm so thankful to have you tonight. Your story is actually quite amazing. The fact that I'm just gonna jump right on there. The fact that you chose to use your pen name
Hmm.
as Mel Dau,
Hmm.
Melvin's daughter. I think
Hmm.
that's an incredible way to honor your
Right.
father by
Right.
doing that. That's
Hmm.
amazing because every time we see you, we see your father,
Right.
and that's amazing. That's amazing. Now I see that for you. This is pretty recent for you. Like you just started even reading urban fiction, according to what I read in
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I didn't I was that stereotypical, I don't want to read that hood stuff. I was that
Yeah.
girl. And
Yeah.
then what happened was my dad got sick. He had cancer, so he got sick. And I was
Okay.
like, I need something to kind of and
Yeah.
somebody was like, well, why don't you read some books? And I was like, I'm not reading that. So somebody said, why don't you try it on Audible first?
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I started with I want to say Wadia Clark's Thug series. I was just like, oh my
Uh,
God, this is so
yeah.
colorful. Da, 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 da.
Uh-huh.
So I started listening. So then the next, it was Bree, and I don't even think she writing anymore. Her I think it's True Love, and she had the first three books of the series on
Yeah.
Audible, then the rest were not on Audible. So I was like, oh, so she gonna make
Okay.
me read. She gonna make me
She gonna
read.
make you
So
read. That's right.
so I went to
Yep.
her other books. And you know how Amazon does. Once you read one, it starts.
Yep.
So then I just kind
Right.
of fell down a rabbit hole, and I
Okay.
was like, oh well, okay. And then I became so known because I could read. If I absolutely am doing nothing all day, I can probably knock out 5 books a day between
Okay.
200 and 300 pages. So I
Okay.
started reading heavy, got really engulfed in the whole community, which I didn't even realize it was a community.
Yeah, it's a big community. Mm-hmm.
And then I became a ARC reader or a text reader, and I just thought people
Okay.
started. So I became they used to call me the book plug.
Yeah.
And then eventually I just got into if you're on Bookies on Facebook, the
Mm-hmm.
Zatasha who runs that, who founded that. She came to me one day. She's like, "Hey, can you write a short story? I'm having a contest for
Oh yeah.
Bookies." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." So I did it,
Yeah.
and then she reached out to me. She's like, "Well, I'm not going to put it in the contest." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you just tell me I can't write." And she was like, "I was like, what?" So she's like, "No, I'm actually sourcing because I'm starting a publication
Okay.
company." I told her no. I said no, absolutely not.
Wow.
I'm a human resource officer. That's what I told her. But the reality of it was, my dad had died that October, and at the time
Okay.
that she asked me, if I want to say she asked me probably on like a Friday night, the
Okay.
next Thursday, I had already had set to commit suicide. So I was
Oh
completing
wow.
a suicide plan. So she was
Okay.
interrupting that, like I had
Wow.
like, and there's a difference between thoughts and plans.
Right.
And like
Right.
when you go into there, they ask you,
Mm-hmm.
you have thoughts? Well, have you had plans? That's
Yeah.
the next thing. If you got plans, we going on another route.
Exactly.
So I had I had already uh made sure my insurance was correct, figured out how to do
Yeah.
this thing without it looking like suicide, because that voids
Right.
insurance is,
Mm-hmm.
it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
So then she had someone call me, another author that I really respected, call me and say, "Hey, just write 5 chapters and tell
Okay.
me what you think. Just tell me how you
Yeah.
feel." So I was like, okay. And I wrote those 5 chapters probably in like 6 hours. And it
Wow.
resonated with me that, wait a minute, I can, like, all the wisdom that my dad has ever given me, I can put them in
Mm-hmm.
these characters. And you're thinking you're getting
Yes.
this wisdom from these characters, but really I'm talking through my dad. So
Yeah.
I signed my contract, I want to say like March 31st, and my first book came out April like
Okay.
12th. And she said, "Well, what do you want your pet name to be?" And I was like, it's going to sound stupid. And she was like, "What is it?" And I was like, "Mel Dau." She was like, "Well, what's it mean?" I said, "Melvin's daughter." And she was like,
Yeah.
"That's not stupid at all."
No,
So
that's perfect.
that's where it came from.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like you
Hmm.
have an incredible story. The fact
Yeah.
that you were actually planning to end
Hmm.
your life and you got interrupted with being a
Oh
writer.
yeah.
They interrupted your
Yeah, I
plans.
literally,
Yeah.
literally, I had my letters. I had my little letters set out
Yeah.
in my fireproof safe. Like it, like, I'm bipolar.
Mhm.
Hence, the pen game is bipolar. I'm bipolar
Yes.
1. So I've always had mental health struggles.
Yes.
That wasn't the first time I've had a plan. That was the first time that a plan was interrupted. Other plans that I've had in the past, I've tried. They weren't successful. Thank God.
Okay.
But
Thank God.
yeah, but yeah, literally writing interrupted
Yeah.
my death. So it became a situation where if I start a book, it's weird. If I start a book, I start having suicidal thoughts, I say,
Hmm.
"Well, you too busy because you got to finish this book, girl." So that's why
That keeps you,
like, you
yeah,
got to
it
finish
keeps
this
you.
book. You got to keep the readers
Right.
reading. So finish this book. So I keep myself busy. So, and I tell people,
Yes.
it sounds crazy, but somebody asked me, "Well, how do you stop yourself from killing yourself?" I stay busy.
Stay busy.
I I become beholden to someone. So for my sorority,
Yeah.
that's why I'm as heavily active, because
Yeah.
okay, if I'm on this committee, I have to do something at Boulay. Boulay ain't until
Right.
2026, so I know I'm gonna be
Hmm.
live at least until 2026.
Right.
So that's
Yep.
my mentality of how to stay alive. Like, just commit to something, because
Yeah.
the last thing you're gonna do is tell me that I died and didn't do what I said I was gonna do. We're
Yeah.
not going. We're not gonna go there.
But
Yeah.
that's a great way to keep
Mhm.
yourself here. It's like it's
Right.
really it's a passion, it's a purpose,
Hmm.
it's I know I got something to do. I gotta
Right.
fulfill this. So
Right.
as long as you can do that, it's like it's giving
Hmm.
you something to
Yeah.
live for,
Find
which
that
is
one
amazing.
thing that you can say I'm gonna commit
Yeah.
to, and know that, okay, and make sure it's beholding to someone. Because
Right.
if you don't want to let nobody down, like you commit to
Yes.
letting yourself down all the time. But
Exactly.
nobody wants to look shady unless you shady.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I told this girl I'm gonna do this, so let me stay to doing that. And that's kind of how, honestly, that's how I live my life. I live my life. I tell people 10 seconds at a time. If I can make it 10
Oh
seconds, I can make it
yeah.
another 10.
That's
So,
good. That's really good advice too, because so
mhm,
many people struggle with mental health, a wide range of
right.
issues. Myself, I had been suicidal at one point in my life, so I know
Mhm.
what it is to have a plan, and then the
Right.
plan gets interrupted. But
Mhm.
then, like you said, it's like I'm a person, I don't want to let people down.
Mhm.
So if I've got something coming up, it's like, well, that's gonna keep it here at least this long.
Right.
So,
I'm telling
and from
you, my
there,
psychiatrist and therapist, they're like, "So you busy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm real busy." All right, that's good to know.
that's a good
That, like, as long
thing.
as if they hear me say, "Well, no, I'm kind of chilling,"
Now they
so
worried. Like, hold up,
they instantly be
hold
like,
up,
"So you don't have no books? You
uh-uh,
don't have no sorority
hold
stuff?"
up.
They start asking
I
questions because that's a
know
red
that's right.
flag for them. When I start pulling
Yes.
back, that's a red flag for them.
Right. That's a
Mm-hmm.
great way to it's a great markers. Those are really good
Mm-hmm.
markers. It's like, hold up, you don't have a book, you ain't got a
Yeah.
sorority event, you ain't got nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. Check in.
Yeah.
Come on, pull it back. Yeah. So that's amazing that something that us as readers we love is something that actually helps you. Is
Right.
helping to heal you.
Right.
So
And I
it
tell
works.
people
It's
I
twofold.
write for me. I write for me and I share with everyone else.
Yeah, now that's
Mm-hmm.
good. That's really good. That's probably why it's so good. These stories are so great because you doing it for you,
You're
and
right.
we just happen to enjoy it. We reap the
Mm-hmm.
benefits of something that's helping you. So that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing, and I thank you for doing that. I'm grateful that you're here and that you're still here. So
I am
that's
too.
kudos to you. Absolutely. Now I did what I really love. I love your EQ formula.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. The educate, encourage, and oh gosh,
Entertain.
entertain.
Mm-hmm.
Entertain. I love that
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I look for in all the books that I read.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly looking for, of course, I want to be entertained. I want some drama. I want to laugh, all that. But can I learn something from this?
Mm-hmm.
Can I apply this to my life? I always
Right.
look for that. And I think that's one of the reasons why your book, My Choice Is You, that
Mm-hmm.
you released this year, I think that's one of the reasons why that was one of my favorites of yours that I read, because I learned so much about the main character as far as being on the spectrum
Mm-hmm.
and her stepping into being an independent woman,
Right.
just really stepping into womanhood, forming new friendships, new relationships, kind of cutting the cord a little bit from her dad, because that's not something you typically see
Mm-hmm.
in what we would call urban. People call it urban fiction or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but it's not typically a storyline that you read. So I thought, like, wow, because there's so many people who are on the spectrum and
Mm-hmm.
you don't typically see in these types of books, you don't really see them diving that deep
Right.
into what it's really like for them
Mm-hmm.
to fall in love and to have new relationships, new friendships, and things like that. What inspired you to write about being on the autism spectrum?
So that's actually my second book. My first book was on love spectrum, and that's a male main character on the
Okay.
spectrum with
Okay.
and then a female. So I got interested in it. So I know a couple couples that one partner is on the spectrum, the other's not. So I kind of
Okay.
watching them kind of interact. I was like, one particular couple, she's a woman, he's a man. And
Okay.
if you just apart from the spectrum, they don't match. And if you see them, it's
Okay.
kind of like, but then just her on the spectrum, she literally embodies Covina. So I kind of asked her
Okay.
question. I was like, hey, how does this work with your relationship? Like, how
Yeah.
did you start? How did things happen? So I just started asking questions. And I said, I think I want to write a book
Yeah.
about like this. And so a lot of the cues and stuff that are
Mm-hmm.
in the book, I kind of asked her about it because even though it's fiction, I don't want to disrespect anybody's
Right.
situation or
Yeah.
whatever. So I asked, like, well, is this too? Because we have stereotypes of how people
Yes.
are. So I was
Yes.
like, well, is this the correct way you might respond to something like this? And as she
Yeah.
said, everybody on the spectrum is different. Not everybody is
Right.
quirky like that.
Right.
Some people are very withdrawn. Some people are this, and just because you're level one doesn't mean you're just all high functioning. It just
Right.
means whatever. So yeah, so it was just like this would be something that I think would resonate with a lot of people,
Yeah.
would potentially encourage people who either are on the spectrum or have children on
Mm-hmm.
the spectrum that love can
Yep.
happen. Like this can happen. You don't
Yeah.
have to be thinking that, oh my God, nobody's ever going to love my child. It
Mm-hmm.
can happen.
Yes. And that's what I love, the hope of the story. It was so hopeful. It's like, it makes you challenge yourself on what your preconceived notions were. At least when I
Right.
was reading, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I had some of those thoughts myself.
Right.
Like, oh, I didn't think, as far as how independent she was and getting
Hmm.
her own place and just the things that she was sharing, like her frustrations with her dad or whatever. Like,
Right.
I got it. I'm not stupid, like, and
Right.
I think for a lot of people who don't have experience with it and reading that, it's like it helps to educate you on, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if I encounter somebody who has this, I know what not to do, how not to
Right.
approach them.
Right.
Don't go into it thinking you already know, because
Right.
like you said, and you said it in the book as well, at least Kobina did, that you can be level 1, but that doesn't mean you're as high functioning as she was.
Right.
It's a range there. So you just have to take it individual by individual. And I really
Right.
loved that. I loved her, especially, and I don't know how you how you came up with the idea of her dad being the way he was.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him because his love for her was fierce. He
Mm-hmm.
was going to protect her. He was going to take care of her. He always had her best interests at heart, even when he did some
Mm-hmm.
things that weren't quite right.
Right.
We knew where the
Right.
love was.
Right.
But for him, it was, even with him having that experience of being her father and raising her by himself, even he had those
Yeah.
moments where he's like,
Exactly.
he's doing too much.
Right.
He's like forgetting that, okay, yes, she's on the spectrum, but she's not slow. She's smart
Mm-hmm.
and she knows what she wants. You got to let
Right.
her go. Right.
Right.
So I guess my question is, writing, because I know you're a parent, but
Mm-hmm.
writing that about the parent and
Mm-hmm.
creating that character, that, because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I knew this person just reading it,
Right.
and I understood him because I'm a parent. It's like I understood,
Mm-hmm.
if I try to put myself in his shoes, like, okay, if my daughter
Right.
had this and I'm getting ready to release her into the world,
Mm-hmm.
I would be terrified. Like, is she
Right.
going to be, are people going to, pick at her, or, is she going to be able to handle all of this? So how were you able to even get in that mindset of writing about the father in that
So I'll be
story?
honest with you, a lot of the male characters in almost all of my book emulate characteristics of my father. My father
Okay.
was extremely protective, extremely, I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar until 20, I want to say 13.
Okay.
Probably had it long before then, but we was in that middle of Black people don't go to therapy, thing.
Yeah.
So it was until I was grown when I came back from a regional conference for my sorority, got
Yeah.
overwhelmed, tried to commit suicide. They put me in a mental
Okay.
institution. That's when I found out. So when
Okay.
they told him, he was like, "Oh, that checks because I'm bipolar." Wait, what?
Whoa.
Sir.
Hold on.
Sir. I'm like, "But Dad, when I go to the doctor, they ask about family history," and he said, "Well, it didn't matter till it mattered. Now it matters."
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
my dad was a quirky. He was a weird man himself, but he was extremely protective, and like,
Yeah.
he wasn't the richest man, but he made sure I had everything I needed. But when it was time to let me go, he let me go. He's let my nose scrape the ground, but he never let me
Okay.
completely hit the ground. So
Okay.
I looked at it from that angle of just a little more heavy, because
Yeah.
Covina's dad. Okay, you want to get your own place. I don't want you to fail in this, so I'm gonna just build you a
Right.
place and let you
Right.
have a room here, so I can still kind of monitor that, because
Right.
having your own place is just too much. It's almost like he can't.
Yes.
He wants to control it if he needs to, but I just want to,
Yep.
step away. So it was and my dad was like that to a certain point.
Yeah.
So the whole, like, until he died, I never purchased a car on my own until he died. He gave me all of my cars.
Okay.
And now, as a grown up, I realized, oh, that probably was because there was a couple times I cut up and I came and my car was missing.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, like, he's like, "Oh no, you grown, go ahead and get your own car." And like the whole
Okay.
engine thing in Ready for War, my dad did that to me.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so that's a real thing. My dad did that
That's
to me,
real.
and he left it
Okay.
on. I went away for a weekend with my little boo, and my dad was like, "Oh, okay, take that." So he took my car over the weekend. When I got back on Sunday, I was going to go to the store. Nothing happened. And then I was like, "Well, you can't leave the car here because they're going to tow it." He said, "I already talked to your dorm director. She says I'm good." My car stayed with no engine there until my grades came in.
Ooh.
Until my grades came in.
Oh, he was serious.
Oh,
He was
yeah,
not
he
playing
didn't play any games. So a lot of that protectiveness you see in my male characters, the wisdom, the dire family connection, the deep love.
Yes.
Like, my mother and father weren't physically together, but there was that love. They were like best friends. So
Oh, that's great.
that black love, I like to show that black love. Like, this is real in our community.
Yes.
Like, y'all,
Yes.
every dude's not a bad guy. Now, I'm not saying
Exactly.
we don't have them,
Yeah,
but every
we
dude's
got
not
them.
a bad. Yeah, we got.
We
So
got 'em.
I always, that's what COVID, and then even the loss that
Oh
Sheldon had of her
yeah.
mother, that he wants to
Yes.
be overly protective.
Yes.
So
hmm Yeah, that's one thing I have noticed in your books that's consistent is how you write these men to be so
mm-hmm,
strong, to be so protective. They love fiercely. No
mm-hmm,
matter what the personality difference is, there is a consistent theme
of
with a
love.
lot of these men
Yeah,
of that love that
and the
they show for
and
their
brotherhood.
family
Yeah, and
and the
brotherhood.
brotherhood.
I always, because I feel so bad
Yes.
when I hear people say, "Oh, I don't trust nobody. I don't got nobody I can trust." That's a hurt. I cry for people like that.
That's
Like, if I
horrible.
didn't, I have people literally in my life that I know that they would take a bullet for me, and I would take a bullet for them. And that's
Right.
how I pour most of my stories. You always going to see that best
Yes.
friend. You always going to see
Yes.
that group of friends.
hmm
It's always, or even if they didn't have it at the beginning, somewhere in that story,
They
somebody's
get
going to
one.
come along and be
Yes.
like, "Look,
I
now
love
I got
that.
you." And
Yes.
that's just my way of trying to remind people, everybody has their people. You just have to be
Yes.
willing to want to find your people. So
Right. Yes, I love that you do that. And like you said, you are very consistent with that. That
mm-hmm,
support system is
yeah,
there. And that's important for people to know. Like you can't go living through life thinking that you got to be alone. You don't have to be alone.
right. You
Just find
don't.
your people.
Right.
Just find your people. With Covina, it's like she had to open herself up, as
Right.
uncomfortable as that
Mm-hmm,
was for her. But what I loved about how you wrote it is that she was communicating like, okay, this is what I don't like. When I do this, don't take it the wrong way. This
right.
is just how I communicate. This is just how I do things.
Mm-hmm,
And the fact that her friends were receptive to that, that's how
right.
you knew those were her people, because there was
Right.
they didn't treat her different. They just
Mm-hmm,
understood like she just got her way and we just
mm-hmm,
roll with it. And that's what I love. So anybody, and I know I see people on there, this is a great book for anybody who is in the life of someone on the spectrum, or if you are on the spectrum yourself, you can live a full life, a full
mm-hmm,
vibrant life. It doesn't mean that your life is somehow restricted. It doesn't have to be.
not at all.
It does not have to be. I would say that I love all books where the man
Mm-hmm,
falls first anyway, but
mm-hmm,
the way that he just knew right away, like
mm-hmm,
this is it for me. He
mm-hmm,
was so ready to commit in such a
mm-hmm,
big way. He wasn't afraid of her
right.
diagnosis at
Mm-hmm,
all. And I loved that so
mm-hmm,
much. Because when you think about falling in love or getting into a relationship with somebody who has a mental health illness or
mm-hmm,
struggle of any kind, it kind of seems daunting, or it seems like it's so big. Like, I don't know if I can
right.
deal with all of that. But he didn't approach it that way at
Right. And he
all.
was
Was that
willing to be
intentional?
understanding. Yeah,
Was that
especially
intentional
with him
for
being
you?
understanding. It was because, my dad always told me that, especially with men. Most men know. They know. They know
Yeah,
when they meet a female whether
I've
they're
heard
gonna put
that.
her in whatever boat. He said, however,
Yeah,
how they go about what they know is different. They
yeah,
may not touch it right now. They might say, that's me right there, but let me get some stuff
yeah.
straight. They may come straight in. They
Mm-hmm.
may, let me play in the streets a little bit, then come back. Jay-Z was
Right.
like, I was just messing with them girls, I'm gonna get right
Yeah,
back. It
right.
could be some of that. But with this, I wanted to show that he didn't know everything, but he was willing to understand it without putting the
Yes.
stereotype on it. Because
Right.
I've had that as being bipolar. I've been on dates and said, hey, at some point, be like, hey, yeah, I'm bipolar. Oh, so that means you crazy.
Wow. That's ignorant.
That's not exactly what that means.
No.
Oh, so you just be like trying to stab people. What bipolar
No.
are
Where you
you
get that
watching?
from? Like,
And
where
then
you
it's
getting this
like,
from?
but a lot of times, and I think too, also one of my biggest motivators for being as writing about stuff like autism and
Mm-hmm.
my mental health and even the HIV book I did was because when I
Yeah.
used to read a lot of urban literature, there was so many stereotypes, so
A lot.
many things that I'm like, I mean, I know it's fiction.
Yeah.
However, I want to give you a little different spectrum. Like all bipolar people ain't out here killing people.
Right.
Like We not.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't have them thoughts sometimes, but we're not out here just
We're not doing
unaliving people.
it.
Yeah, we're
Right.
not unaliving people. You know, my
Yeah.
my psychiatrist tell me all the time. You know, bipolar won't keep you out of jail. They have meds in jail. So, so,
I
so,
love that.
so I'm like, look, I'm like, but so I think I take my approach in that manner of being
Hmm.
very intentional. Some of my characters, sometimes my characters aren't, but when most of my characters, when the guy figures out, okay, this her, that's it.
That's it. That
That's
is
it.
it. And I love that because, and like you said, my husband told me that. I've had other men tell me that. Men
Mhm.
just know.
Yeah, they
They just know.
know.
They know. Now, how they do it, like you said, that's on them.
Mhm.
But they do know. And so it was his follow through that I
Yeah,
love. It's the way he followed through. And then when she was calling herself breaking up with him, he was like, breaking up with who?
right. Like,
Nah. Okay.
but she pushed the envelope, and he was like, "I
Ooh,
got to
she
show you
did.
something. I got to
She
show you
did.
something."
She
And
pushed hard too.
but that also showed with her that, to me, that whole situation had nothing to do with her being on the spectrum. That was
No,
just
it
the
didn't.
female of her,
That's
the petty
right.
woman, and that's like, oh, I'm gonna
Yep.
make you want me, honey. I'm gonna
Yep.
do, because we could be happy like that.
Yes.
Oh, he said he want me. Oh, I'm gonna play
I'll
with him. I'm gonna
show
play
you.
with him. Yeah, so that had nothing to do with her being on
Yep.
the spectrum. That was pure Covina as a girl in her
That's
first
right.
relationship, not really understanding how it goes.
Yep.
And then when
That's
April
right.
said, "No, you keep thinking it's all about you," and she's like, "Well, wait a minute," because she has her everything has been catered
It's
to
always been
her, and that has
about her.
because of her autism. But now you're in a situation where people don't,
Yep.
and I always tell people, even with my mental health, nobody has to be accommodating to me.
That's true. That's true.
And unfortunately, that's the same thing for people on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Some people, they don't have to do anything. So,
Right. Yeah, that's big. That what I loved about that was that that's another way of educating people because yes, you could say, "Oh, her being on the spectrum that's a big part of the story." Not in my opinion.
yeah,
A
no.
lot of what we saw was just about her being a woman,
Right.
about her being in her
In her
first
first
major
relationship,
relationship. Yeah,
exactly.
that's all it was. She was doing some stuff I've done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like any woman could relate to that that's been in relationships and just being petty and I'm gonna show him and oh, you want me? Okay, we can relate to that.
Right.
So don't think that her being on the spectrum has to be the whole entirety of that story because it's not at all.
Not at all.
There's so many layers to that.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that we saw, like you said, you weave in those friendships so well. You do such a great job in doing that. So it's like we get to know the friends through the main characters,
Right.
and they become a part of this story.
Mm-hmm.
They become a part of just holding them up,
Mm-hmm.
lifting them up, encouraging them to keep the relationship going, being a sounding
Mm-hmm.
board. And I think that's important as well because having the right people in your
Right.
tribe, having the right friends, that's so important when you're
Right.
trying to have a certain type of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have girls that was telling her, just leave him, girl, just leave him, girl. They weren't doing that. They were
Mm-hmm.
supportive with her. I loved,
Right.
and I got to ask you about this, Grammy. I don't know how you came up with that, but I giggled so much because I was like, look at this. She just the BFF for
Mm-hmm.
real. Like, she's like, what made you think about adding the grandmother as a best friend like that?
Because I personally have not had that experience with my grandparents, but I know some friends that are like that with their grandmothers. Their
Okay.
grandmothers are their best
Yeah.
friends. And I'm like, so you really be talking to your grandmama about the dudes you talk to? Like on some, yeah, girl, you know? And then I've seen them interact, and it's kind of like, oh, wow, like, that's
Yeah, that's
interesting.
different.
And,
Okay.
it just, in my mind when I was writing, it just made sense
Yeah.
because she hasn't been out there in the world.
Mhm.
So her grandmother, and then with Sheldon being a teenage parent,
Right.
and then Grammy taking in the mother,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? So that kind of showed a character in her that said, you know what,
Mhm.
it
made sense.
I strongly believe people who parents who have children who end up being teenage parents
Yeah.
have to have this level of youth in them that they have to
Yeah.
maintain to guide their child through that
It's
successfully.
true.
I just always to me and not break that bond of I'm still your
Yeah.
mom, whatever, because
Right.
I've seen parents just be hard and the kids just it's a mess. So
Right.
that's kind of where I came from, that like she needs a best friend.
She needed
So
it.
let's start with Grammy, but
Let's
then
start with
that
Grammy.
made it like, okay, I'm still your best
Yeah.
friend, but we got to make a line now, baby, because you're an adult. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cause she drew her lines in there
Oh
sometimes. Like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, I love you,
But
but I'm still your
we're not
grandma.
going to talk about this. Right.
Right? We're gonna have to stop at some point. We gotta have a limit
Right.
to what we talk about. But it makes so much sense, like you said, because if you're a teenage parent, she's gotta bring him and the girlfriend, wife into the
Mhm.
home. She already was that presence in Covina's
Right.
life, that
Right.
steady presence. After the mom passes away, she's a steady presence.
Right.
So it just made sense for her to be that close to her. It was just
Mhm.
funny to read it, especially for me, because like I was close to my
Mhm.
grandmother, but not like that. It wasn't like,
Right.
girl, let me tell you what he said to me on the phone. What should I say? It
Mhm.
wasn't like that. So I was just like,
Right.
wow, this is amazing. Like, this is
Right.
cool
And then you
to
got
have
to
a
think,
grandma.
like, he was still doing baseball until she was almost like in
Right,
her 20, late early, like maybe 20, whatever. She said after you graduated high school, she traveled
right.
with him. So in a way, and not in a negative manner, he was an absentee father to a certain point because
Well,
he was
yeah,
gone
he
working.
was
So
traveling,
Granny
working.
was always there. And a lot of people don't think of it.
Yeah,
Absentee, that's such a horrible word. But the reality is sometimes we
that's
as
what it
parents, we
is.
can accidentally become absentee because we're
Yep,
working so hard to
yep,
have this lifestyle, not
yep.
realizing maybe you should just stay at home a little bit
Right,
more. Like, because I
right.
remember I got dug in the ground. My father taught me one. He always taught me. He said, "You don't work two jobs. Either if you
Mm,
if you have to work two jobs to make what you would make on one job, you need to go back to school. You need to get a
okay,
trade to up your lifestyle." He said,
right, right,
especially if you're working two jobs to buy some kids some Jordans, like, or do
right.
something stupid
That
like that.
part.
He said that don't make sense. He said these kids need you at home.
I'm with him.
He'll be okay with
Mhm.
them low Reeboks. So,
Exactly, exactly. I'm with
okay.
him. That's it.
So I was like, all right. So I never worked. Even when I was writing and working, I never clocked that. Oh, it's two jobs. I was just writing, enjoying
Yeah,
writing, and happened to get some money off of it. But now I'm a full-time author because
yeah.
now it said it didn't make logical sense for me
Hmm.
to work my job and write since my writing has taken off.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm now making more money writing than I was in my human resource position. So I was like, oh well, I'm gonna
See,
just go ahead and let y'all go.
just go ahead. Yeah,
And let,
might
let's
as
let's
well.
lean into God's creative gift He gave me and see what
That's right.
happens.
Yes, and it works out.
It does.
It all works out in the end. And I think that's your story, just in general, of doing that. I hope that people that are listening, that they're inspired by that, because so many of us who are parents and we get into that thing of we're trying to take care of our kids and give them the best of everything, but then you end up working so hard that your kids never see you, right? And so it's like, maybe
Sometimes
you just
that's
need
the
to,
best. The best is really the time
the
because
best is the time.
what would you rather your child say? Oh, my mom bought me all the Jordans. Or, oh, me and my mom went to the cabins one weekend and we
Right.
did bada 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 bada. You
Yep.
want to make core memories, not core items.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. But I understand it because it comes from a place, especially in the Black community, it comes from a place
Hmm.
of we want our kids to have more than what we had.
Yes.
You know, if we struggle, we don't want our kids to
Right.
struggle. So if we grew up and we had the grocery store shoes, we don't want our kids to have the grocery store
Right.
shoes. And I understand that, but it's the time, it's the quality time that
Hmm.
matters most. And that's what Grammy represented to me.
Right.
She put that quality time in with
Hmm.
Covina. And
And she
so
did.
Covina felt so comfortable with going to her for everything. And
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing as long as
Hmm.
they had limits. Like Grammy gave her
Right.
limits. Like, okay, I'm not gonna teach you that. I'm not gonna teach you how to do that.
That's not
We're
with
not
me,
gonna do
baby.
no. We're not gonna do that. I gotta cut you off right there. But at least she had that safety net. At least she had some security where she could just be herself around Grammy and she could ask
Hmm.
anything.
Hmm.
And I think that's amazing for someone to have in their support system, a relationship. like that. As you're
Yeah.
growing into who you're gonna become, you're gonna need somebody that allows you to just ask whatever, be yourself.
Right.
And Grammy would check her if she was wrong. Grammy would tell her the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you don't want to live in a situation where your child is scared to come to you about something. Because if what you don't teach them,
Yeah.
the world will, and you can't
The
guarantee it's
world.
going to be right. No, better yet, what you don't teach them, TikTok will at this point.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And it's a
so yeah,
mess. It's a
look.
mess out here. It's a mess out here. But yeah, so I appreciated, of course, Grammy, the relationship. And I love the relationship she had with her father as well, because I
Mhm.
loved how strong and fiercely he loved her. I loved the friends. I loved actually seeing her progress in the relationship, because, it started off being just new to her. She's excited. But then she's like, wait a minute, I got my own feelings. I got my way I want to handle this, and
Mhm.
you saw her becoming stronger and finding her voice.
Mhm.
Some mistakes might be made. She may not handle everything right, but she was really growing into being a woman, a
Right.
full-fledged woman.
Right.
And we got to see that journey. So I think that was so good for the reader, because if you're someone who hasn't been around somebody on the spectrum and you're reading this and you're saying, okay, she's doing some of the stuff I did. There's really not
Right.
that much of a
Right.
difference in our realities, which is
Right.
key, I think, because mental health, especially in the Black community, there's a stigma, there are
Mhm.
stereotypes, there are
Mhm.
people who just have the wrong ideas about
Correct.
what that means to live with it. So just to read it and go, she sound like me, like, I relate. I
Mhm.
think that's what makes it so great. Is like we're learning from it. We're encouraged to, if you are on the spectrum, you have that hope. You can have love, you can have friends, you can have a full social life,
Mhm.
all of that. It doesn't end just because you have an illness or a condition. That
Right.
that doesn't stop anything. And
It
that
doesn't.
was my biggest takeaway from that. It doesn't stop
Mhm.
anything.
Right.
And let go of those stereotypes. Don't
Right.
believe with all this crazy stuff that you heard in your family or on the street. Don't
It
believe
all
that.
looks different. It looks different for everyone.
It,
Everything like bipolar looks different for everyone. When I wrote The Mania of Love, that one
yes.
was dear to me because if you read that book, some of her episodes were real episodes that I had. Like people were inboxing me
Okay.
like, "Girl, I remember when you was in this little A cup phase, don't you?" Like if
Yeah.
you follow me on social media a lot,
Yeah.
and I love and I always say I love my Mania crew. I really, really do because
Yeah.
it's past the readership. They've been
Mm-hmm.
tuned to me. So like if I'm on social media and something is off, I start getting inboxes like, "Hey, did you take
Yeah.
your meds today? What's going
Okay.
on? You're not,
Okay.
something's not clicking." Or if
Yeah.
I start they start seeing me eat the same thing all the time or talk about the same thing. So are you in a mania? I saw you buy
Okay.
like 7 things yesterday, and like
That's
these are
good.
people who started out my readers, but now
Yeah.
they've been
Yeah.
they've become family to where okay,
Wow.
I'm holding you
Yeah.
accountable to do what you need to do once again
Mm-hmm.
because and this is not a bad thing. I'm depending on you to keep writing these books. I can't be in the
Yeah.
mania crew if you gone, and that's how I look at
Right.
it. Like okay,
That's
they
really
really
good.
care and and I love that relationship that I have and it's a lot of them
It's
that
good.
I can call by name. I see them at an event, I know who it is,
Yeah.
and I get excited to see them. It's past the whole oh she just reads my books and gives
Right.
me money. It's way past
Wow.
that
You have a
for me.
relationship with them.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing because it works both ways. Is they can hold you accountable and they can call, they notice some things about you,
Yeah.
and then you continue to write. You're
Right.
feeding them. You're helping them to heal.
And they'll annoy me too. Like they'll legit be like, I know you probably mad, but I need one. I think it was Latoya Nicole, author Latoya Nicole. She told me
Yeah.
to make a video of me taking my medicine and show that it's
Wow.
the same day. She was like, I need you to send me a
Oh,
video of you taking your meds. You need to whole sum up to show
okay.
me what date it is.
Oh,
And
she
she
wasn't
was
playing.
serious. No, and I
Okay.
was like, okay, whatever. Like midway through the day, she blasted me on Facebook. I was like, oh, okay, these guys.
Wow.
So I mean,
That's
but
love.
the that's the community that I pray
Mhm.
everybody can find, not just about marriage, but just anything in your life. If you say
Anything.
I want to do such, and I'm that type of friend. If you say I want to do such and such,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, you sure?
Right.
Yeah, okay. I'm about
Mm-hmm.
to get on your nerves. I'm about to get on your.
Yeah.
So how we
Hold you
doing with
to
such
it.
and such? Did we make
Uh-huh.
a deliverable date on that? Did we decide what day we're going to go ahead and apply for that program? When's the
Yeah.
deadline? I'm a human resource professional. I know
Hold them
deliverables.
accountable.
What we
Yeah.
talking about, and
Yep.
that's what I do with a lot of my characters. The friendship
Mm-hmm.
circles, we're holding people accountable. When
Yes.
Mega in the last book, Trust in the Dark, Mega was tripping.
Yes.
Ned said, "Look now, you had me up in that
Yes.
expensive suit at that wedding
Yep. Yep.
to these vows. I'm gonna need you to hold fast to them vows."
Hold to it. Hold to it.
So
Yes.
yeah.
I love that. Because that's really love in action. That's how
Mm-hmm.
you show love. Is like, I'm not just hearing you talk and it's going in one ear and out the other.
Right.
Like, no, I was listening to you, and I'm gonna hold you to what you said
Mm-hmm.
because I want you to do it because I
Right.
care about you. So that's great. And like you said, it doesn't have to be mental health. It can be anything you're trying to do in your life.
Anything.
Get some people that's gonna hold you accountable, that's gonna support you for real. That might get on your nerves, but then
Yeah.
make sure you get it done.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
eventually they're gonna get on your nerves, and you're gonna do it just so
You're gonna do
them
it
to get off
anyway.
your nerves, and now you did it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like, shut up already. But I'm glad you brought that up about that community, because one thing that I am so passionate about are Black authors getting the support that they
Mm-hmm.
deserve, because there are publishing companies that don't push Black authors as much as they should, that don't put the money into
Mm-hmm.
making sure those books are visible everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
I really just want authors, especially Black authors from my community, to be seen, to be heard, and to get the support. So in what ways, and I know you already do this, but just so the people who are listening and watching, what are some really good ways that readers can support some of their favorite authors beyond just buying the book? What's something that actually helps?
Spreading the word about their books,
Okay.
engaging with them a lot. So one of the biggest difference between our community of authors and the other
Mm-hmm.
side, I say
Yeah.
the other side, they're not as engaging.
Okay.
You're gonna have their fan
Yeah.
page, and that's about all you get. On our
Yeah.
side, we have our readers on our personal Facebook pages. We're in
Right.
groups with them. We're
Mm-hmm.
interacting.
That's
So
true.
interact. Do those
Okay.
things. Constructive criticism if need be.
Okay.
That helps us as authors become better writers.
Okay.
Coming to events, meeting us, different things of that nature. Just spreading the words. Definitely, if you know a book club, you have a book club. Um,
Yeah.
do our books. I always tell people, if your book club is reading my book, reach out to me. If
Okay.
I jump on a Zoom. And I know some people are like, well, somebody said, well, I wanted to reach out to you, but I thought you were going to charge. I said, girl, if it's virtual, I ain't charging nothing. What, Zoom free? What we talking
Yeah.
about?
Right.
We can
Right.
do a TikTok live with your book club.
That's
Like, what are
right.
you talking about? Like, now, if you want
Right.
me to travel somewhere, I might say, give me a room and I'll travel for free. Like,
Exactly.
but like I said, but Zoom is free. I don't mind coming on anybody's thing,
Okay.
virtual, just things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. Just, supporting, doing the reviews, definitely doing the
Okay.
reviews when you buy a book, because the more you review, the better it is for us.
Okay.
And the turnaround of the more reviews we have, the more stars we have, Amazon will self promote our books.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's good to
So
know.
different things like
Yes, that's good
that.
to know. That's good to know. I'm so glad that you said that. And I hope everybody that's watching and listening that really take heed to that and do that. Because you can say you love somebody, you love their work, but this is how you can show it. Actually write
Right.
the review, actually show up to some of these events. And one thing I love about you and a lot of other authors, on your social media pages, you post this stuff. Like, we see the events that you're doing. We see where
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be. And you are responsive. So
Mm-hmm.
reach out. There are groups. We have lots of
Yeah.
groups, a lot of readers groups, book clubs, all of that. So there are
Mm-hmm.
many ways you can help
There are.
support and get the word out. Talk about
Yeah,
it.
definitely
Share
get
it.
the word, because I'm a reader before I'm a writer, and I just like
Mm-hmm.
readers, like I still get overwhelmed when I go to events and readers fangirl
Yeah.
me, because I'm like, wait, I'm just me. But then I know how it feels, because I go to events, but I'm at the event as Mel Dau, but I'm like, okay, let me make a game plan, because I got to get to her table Like her table.
Yeah.
Like I bring people like, okay, stay here for 5 minutes. I'm gonna go over there. And then I'm like Casey, I love Casey Mills so much. And literally
Oh, I
every
love
time I see her
Casey
at an event,
Mills.
she's like, hey Mel, you know it's my
I know. Like, oh my gosh. Oh my
look,
God.
the first time she said my name, I was like, her and Miss Lady P, I'll never forget it. They was like, oh,
Oh,
you know me?
listen.
And the whole like you couldn't tell me the rest of the day I was like, Casey Mills knows my name. You can't tell me nothing.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
Miss Lady P, she know me.
She know me.
Like you can't tell me
See?
nothing. But
That's
that's
how
how
I
it is.
feel.
I'm still that reader. Like I'm
I
still that
love
like,
that.
oh my God, that's so and so. You know, so I'm
I
a
love that.
fangirl. I buy books just as heavy. I get just
Yeah.
as excited when releases come out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. I love that you get excited the way we get excited.
Oh
Because I'm
yeah.
going to tell you, nobody could be able to tell me now. I'm like, do you know who I talked to this week? I talked to Mel
Hey,
Dau,
I'd be so
okay?
excited. I'd be like, oh my God. Like even I remember when I got signed to Be Love,
Yes.
like she was my top favorite author. And I
I love
remember
Love.
when
Oh,
she was my top author. And I remember when I was leaving the other publication, she said, hey, who would you be interested in signing to? Or do you want to go independent? I said, well, no, I'm not ready to be independent. And she said, anybody, just put it out there.
okay.
And I worked with them. I see if I can work with them.
Yeah.
I never in a million years did I think she would.
Ooh.
She said, Be Love. She was like, okay, let me talk to her. So
Ah,
she talked to her. She talked to her. She said, well, she told me to go ahead and she told me to tell you to send in your book, which was the Love Spectrum, and she'll read it and go
okay.
from there. Well, honey, when she reached out and said
Yeah.
she wanted to sign me, I called people. I was like, I
Yes.
love it. I was like
Yes.
having a whole. I called like 5 people. They was like, calm down. Are you okay?
Like, you just don't
I was
know
crying.
who this
I was
is.
like, y'all don't understand. Like
Yes.
that was like when she opened her publication. I said I had just started writing. I said if I can get good enough to
Oh,
get
man.
on her radar, and
Yes.
that's what it was. And I was like, now I'm on some like, look, she's gonna have to kick me out, bro.
I know that's
You're gonna have
right.
to tell me it's time to fly, little birdie,
Right.
because until then I'm gonna be like in the nest.
Right, right. I know that's right. That's one of those dream come true moments where you're like, I've been a fan so long that it's like, I can't believe I'm talking to this person. I cannot believe
Right.
it. So yes,
And look,
I'm
my
there. You
daughter's in the
understand.
comments talk about it, and she listens to books all day. My daughter's in the
Oh,
comments.
oh, thank you. See, she putting you out there. She listens to books all
Really
day.
is. Because like literally I go to sleep with books on. So
Okay.
like yeah,
Okay,
I
so you just
sleep with books
listening.
on. Yeah.
Got
So
you.
I wake up and a book will be on and then I don't know why. I rewind it to the last place I remember hearing.
Yeah.
And my daughter will wake up and then I'd be like, really?
See, I'm like, I'm with I'll have my Kindle in the bed with me. And I'll just keep reading until I knock out. And one of my kids will be like, oh, you fell asleep. Look at that. It's on your pillow. You went to sleep with that. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Let me just scroll back to the last page I remember. I'll be all right.
Yeah,
That's
I'd be
right.
like, I listen to Audible books or whatever, Lexi,
Yeah.
whoever. I just listen to books, and even in my car sometimes I just listen to books,
Yeah.
listen to books. So it's like,
Since you are such a voracious reader, what are you reading now?
whew, Lord. So I think with the rest of the reading community, I'm stuck on this Delgado's. Good God.
Oh,
Jacqueline, when I tell you that series, and
yeah.
I don't just love the series. The series is amazing. Like
Yeah.
the series, the marketing behind the series, the way she
Hmm.
dropped the series,
Hmm.
it for me, it's well
Yeah.
beyond the books. It to me, it's like that's a business mind right there.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was like 2.5. I
Yeah.
never heard of a point 0.5 series. And I was like, she is so smart. So to me,
Genius.
it was the books and on top of the business mind of it. And I was just
Yeah.
like, as another
Right.
author, I'm looking like, yo,
Yeah.
that was the smartest. And you could tell she
Genius.
set these books up. She wrote these books and set these books up well in advance. So
Yeah.
I'm like, she is so smart.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
get the book, you get into the book, you're like, this book is
She a
amazing.
beast. She a beast. Just being a beast.
Like I'm like saga, and I love saga. So I'm like, look, when I was with the rest of the book fiends yesterday, waiting for 3.5.
Uh-huh.
I was so mad. I was like, I finished my book just in time, and now they're gonna hold it. Amazon be tripping. But when it came out, I was ready. So
Yeah.
like that, and then Latoya Nicole. Every time Latoya Nicole drops a book, I read it, and I generally do a video review for all of her books. Her last book, the Jolly Polly Christmas. That was a book. Wow. And I'm not used to the poly trope, so I was a little like,
different.
It's
different. Yeah,
it's very enlightening. I say that, but it's very enlightening. I'm about to get into the Zoo Boys because I heard them. I heard the Infernal Gods and the Zoo Boys are going to link up. So in 2025, so I said, let me go ahead and catch up on that. It just depends on not necessarily what's hot, but like if something catches my eye, then I'm like, I can read that. Let me check that out. I like trying new authors. That people really don't hear about a lot, because we have a lot of amazing authors out here that, in my opinion, just may not have the marketing backing. They don't understand how to market themselves, but you hear about them, and then you're like, okay, well, let me read your book, and then certain authors, and I'm not saying this as in it's me, but certain authors have certain influences, and we know that. So know if you put somebody's book that may not be well known on your feed, and you say this book is good, this is why, your readership trusts you with your book, so they would think you would read good books. So it's certain things like that. That's how you help the community keep going around, keep thriving, by not only just big enough for your own books, but when you see another author doing her thing, I've always been like, look, my greatness is in a line on its own. We can be lined up. We can be lined up. Like me giving you your flowers is not taken from my bouquet.
Exactly.
There's a field out here. I'm gonna go pick some more flowers. So it's cool. But
yeah, I love that. And I love when I see that, when you see those authors that will, shine a light on somebody else. It's just like you said, their readers are going to start reading your book. It helps. And we're all one community anyway. We're readers, they're authors, and we're readers. We all love books. We all love to read. So you're not going to lose anything.
You're not
by supporting somebody.
At all.
You're not going to lose anything. Well, before I close out, I saw a question. Someone asked, is there any plans to revisit the Wolf family?
So that's the centaurs, the Summer Laurie. So I do have another book on deck for them. I'm not sure when that. I think that's probably going to be my second book of the year, third book technically, because my first book is going to drop on the 1st of January, which is the second part to Naughty Fan. And then I'm gonna start working on Draco's book, and Draco's gonna drop after that. Then I think I'm gonna do the Wolf, the Wolf book. And this one, I'm not sure. It is gonna be in the family, the Laurie's family. Fatty, it's gonna be on Fatty's side, so it's not gonna be the extent in the Washingtons. And it's gonna be about it's gonna be a female male character. A female main character is gonna lead that. A Wolf female main character is gonna lead that book.
Interesting. All right, so we got some books to look forward to in 2025. Yes.
I'm trying to stack I know the first two books I'm working on, which is Draco and this particular Wolf book, and then I'm gonna I don't know where I'm going next.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Well, at least we know you got those three lined up. So we can,
and then I keep feeling like Draco's book is gonna loop into something else, because with that book. I don't even know if I said this. With that book, I'm connecting two family sagas together. They're going to meet together in the middle. So I'll just say, just imagine Megan and them and the Washington Christensen Smiths all kind of collide together for some exciting times.
I can't wait for that.
So I'm gonna be pulling back. You're gonna see Chopper, and you're gonna see Smoke, and you're gonna see all of old heads coming back and putting in some work for certain situations. So I was like, this might be a big one, and I think that may spin off into something else. But because I kind of hate going back to sagas, but it's just kind of, because sometimes you can do too much. You can just keep on characters. But when I created those sagas, if you notice, I create huge families, and
Yes, you do.
that's with intention. That's with intention for
Yeah.
the storyline and for future storylines. So like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
I started writing about Hyeran's trailing them, then I got to their kids,
Right.
and like
Yep.
4 more years, you might see their kids,
The grandkids.
like
Right.
we gonna be like, and I tell
Yep.
people, Kyrie and Trail and them, they're technically like in their 70s. I don't know if you realize that.
Oh wow. I did
Yeah,
not realize
they're
that.
old. They have kids who have kids, and
Oh
their
my
kids are like
gosh.
almost is like in their 30s. Like, yeah, they're old. They're
Wow.
if you really think about it, like that's why I don't age my
Yeah.
books any longer. I don't age my books any longer. I don't put a
Yeah.
date. I don't put times. I
Yeah.
don't put music because I'm like, I don't know what year it is. If you ask me, I'll be like,
Wow.
make one up. I
I'm
don't know.
shocked because
So
I would have never
yeah,
thought that for them.
yeah.
Okay.
They're older because when I first wrote their book, my first book, clearly I aged that book because I didn't know no better. They were like 24, 26, 27 in that
They
book.
were.
And then now
That's
their
right. They were.
kids are like
Yeah.
30. So I'm like,
Oh.
yeah, they're older. Because
Oh
somebody asked me, well,
man.
can we revisit, them? I said, well, which one you want to die this time? What you mean? I said they old. I tried to give y'all the hint when I let Pie go that like we can't keep doing
Oh
this,
yeah.
y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We can't keep doing
Yep.
this. If
That's
y'all don't
right.
want to,
That's
like,
right.
and I believe in natural progression of life. So
Yeah.
like the natural progression of life is people
I
do
mean,
do pass.
that's
So
true. That's
right,
true. But I love how you set it up because, like you said, with families, that story can continue through the generations. You always have a story, so
right,
it's always some material there, and we're excited to
right,
read it. So I'm
right.
all about
And because
it.
I write typically regional, so it's easy for
Yes.
me to kind of loop my books in with each other. It
Yeah.
makes sense for people when I write South Carolina books and the people may have money for them to be investing in a black investment firm, Washington Smith. So it makes,
Right.
so I kind
Right.
of do those things very intentional
Yeah.
to I don't typically write about areas I have no knowledge of. When I
Okay.
did the Leotas and not Leotas, the Lories when they was in Washington State, if
Yes.
people know how much research I did just to get it right. And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, 'cause I just hate seeing like even with the Leotas when they went to Arizona, the restaurant
Yes.
that the Piece of My Piece, the restaurant he took her to in Arizona, that's a real restaurant. I went on their
Okay.
website, I looked up their
Okay.
menu, I called them to
Oh
ask how it
wow.
worked because you really have to pay before you go. Like the restaurant only has
Gotcha.
like 15 tables. You pay for
Okay.
it's like a course meal and you pay before you
Mm.
get there and they charge your card. And if you
Oh,
cancel, you just
you
owe.
just out.
And so
Okay.
yeah, and it was really cool. Like a year after the book came out, a reader, matter of fact, reached out to me either on Instagram or Facebook, like called me, video called me, and she
Yeah.
was at the restaurant. They were
Wow.
going to Arizona, and she found her and her husband. Her and her husband went to Arizona, and she told him
Yeah.
about the restaurant. And he
Oh
said, like,
wow.
what's in her book, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And he
That
surprised her and took her to the restaurant. She's like,
is
girl,
so.
look, it's $7. And I was like, yo, that's cool as
That
hell. Yeah,
is so cool. I love
I thought that was
that.
the coolest thing. She's like, oh,
It
my
is.
husband. I was like, girl, you better get it in the night.
What?
Because
You
them
owe
places,
that
it's
man.
like $120 something a person. I was like, yeah,
Ooh.
you better get it in.
Ooh. Yeah, she had to put in work
It
for
wasn't
that.
cheap.
But that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. That's amazing. And that's a lot of work that you have to put
It
in
is.
as an author for this
Yeah,
location that you're not familiar with. So you have to put a lot of
right.
time into that.
Try to
Yeah.
use black businesses, smaller black businesses in my
Hmm.
books. And if I do, I usually reach out to the person like, hey, I'm going to use in my book. I'm not going to use in a negative light, blah, blah, blah. I'll put a link in my book. Yeah, I don't ask for
Yeah.
kickback. I want people in general to, if you're successful, I'm successful. So
Right.
I just want people in
Yep.
general to there's some great places, some great eateries, some great products,
Hmm.
services
Right.
that we can be within our own community. So I'm like, hey, if I can, especially if I've used it, oh yeah, I'm gonna shout it out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like let's circulate those dollars in
Mm-hmm.
the community. Let's do that. Let's support one another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so okay, so this person, Tasha, hey Tasha, she says, do you still do family trees?
So here's the thing. I have two family trees, and I just said the other day I need some more family trees. Those two family trees, Reader did for me. I had a contest. I said if whoever gets me the most correct family tree first, I'll give you
Okay.
something. And she did the Washingtons, Smiths, and the Christensens, and hers were the most accurate. And I think I gifted her. I made her a custom made blanket, throw blanket,
Ooh.
and some other stuff. So I don't be look.
Okay.
Look. I'm doing an end of the year full basket raffle.
Oh,
So it's my full
okay.
catalog. So you're getting 59
Whoa.
books and other stuff. And
Wow.
listen, in the raffle tickets are $1. And now in the other stuff, you're getting a calendar, a Kindle, mug. Yeah, I'm grandiose. Like
Woo.
I always say, like
That's
Megan's like
big
dare to be
time.
grandiose. Oh, I'm grandiose. Like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
I love
So,
that.
but I got that from my father. My father used to always tell me, they say, go hard to go home. He'd be like, go hard. He'd be like, go hard to go somewhere else because that shit ain't welcome at the house.
I like that.
That's what he used to say.
love that.
So it's like, and he used to always say, if you're gonna do it big. He was like, what's the point of doing it if you're not gonna do it big?
Hey.
He said, make an impact. So
hey, I agree. Y'all, please get in on this because I have never heard anybody.
When I announce it, it's $1. It's gonna be $1 raffle ticket. You can buy. You have to buy a minimum of 10.
Okay.
But it's $1 raffle ticket. But because the website I'm gonna use it, and then like if you pay the service fees on the website, they give you 10 extra tickets. The service fees like $5.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it's really simple. And then a proceed of what I make from the raffle is going to scholarship.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
yeah,
I'm
that's
going.
Great.
I established 2 book scholarships, 2 $600 book scholarships this year for North Carolina and South Carolina high school students.
Oh, great.
So I'm
really
going to continue doing that and hopefully increasing every year.
Yeah.
More and more. Cause I remember being in college and not being able to afford them books.
I've been there.
And a lot of full rides don't include books.
That is true. Very true. So yeah, please, guys, support that. Get in on that raffle. Get in on that. It's
so what's for the family trees? I'm probably gonna do it because I look. I feel like I don't know. Yeah, I'm probably gonna ask for another reader help. Like, please, somebody do some family trees for me because you would think I would do it as I write, but I really don't be thinking about it like that. I just be like, you
just write,
and then somebody asks like that, and then I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. That's a good idea. That's a good idea, guys.
Yeah, but I'm excited about the raffle. It's going to be my book on the 1st. I was waiting for that book to drop because I want it in the basket. And then so once that drops, I'm gonna set it up. I got all the books. I'm gonna set up all the stuff that's gonna go in the basket. There's a throw blanket, a mug, a calendar, all kind of stuff is in this basket.
Y'all, get in
candle,
on this raffle,
cups.
please.
It's 2. I had to do it in 2 baskets. So one basket is all books, and the other basket is everything else. So
wow, 2 big baskets.
Yes, 2 big baskets.
That is huge. You're getting something amazing. Get in on this raffle, guys.
And what's funny is that I plan to do that every year. It's going to be something that I do every year at the end of the year. So that means it's just going to grow. The catalog's just going to
get bigger
and grow.
Yep. That is amazing, y'all. I see people talking. Yes, get in on that raffle.
Yeah.
Budget it in. Get ready for it.
Right.
That's going to be great. And please look out for Mel Dau. She's got more books coming next year. At least 3 she's already told us about. So be on the lookout for that. Go on her page.
And Pressure Cooker. I got an Audible coming up. Pressure Cooker comes out on the 7th. The Audible.
Oh, nice.
And it's Miles Washington. Miles Washington doing his thing.
Yeah.
And Lacey Laurel. I listened to it today. They sent me the review. I was like,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And he was mega. Miles Washington was mega. So I love his voice, and I hope he's going to be mega for Trust in the Dark. Yeah. Because I just love his voice.
Yeah. Yes. All right, guys. Y'all hear that? Audible people, get that. When it cops, get that. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
You just made my week. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be bragging about this for a long time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a wonderful night, and we will
You
keep
as well.
supporting you.
Thank
and I will be reaching
you.
back out to you as your new books drop.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You
Bye,
too.
y'all.
Bye.